Hi guys, I am back for our Thursday math video of this week, and we are going to be doing circle review today. So I know this is going to be a really great thing for a lot of you because when I was talking with you this week, I noticed there are a little bit of discrepancies and a little bit of things that I'd like to go over. So I'm so glad that this lesson came at this time. So I'm going to share my screen. I know I say that every time, but you're probably thinking, what is Mrs. Rossini doing? Sharing my screen with you. Oh, I was listening to this earlier today. Highly recommend this song. It is a great, great, great song. Okay, so let's go to, make sure you guys have page 217 out and available. And we are on Thursday circle review. Before we do that though, I would like to go over last night's homework, and I tried something different. Yesterday, I had some of you guys go into Google Classroom and put your correct answers in. That is fabulous. I'm going to try to do that at least 2 or 3 times a week. I'm going to make sure you're doing your work by having you go to Google Classroom and entering your answers. So you'll have a multiple choice to choose from, okay? So last night, 8A, 15 squared is 225. B, 3 squared times 4 squared is 144. C, 3.24 times 1,000 is 3,240. D, 524 divided by 4 is 131. E, 7.5 minus 3 3/4 is 3 3/4. F, 7.5 times 3 3/4 is 28 1/8. G, 5 3/8 plus 6 1/4 plus 3 1/3 is 14 23 24. H, 7.2 plus 6.9 plus 0.0872 is 14.972. I, 3.1 minus 1.699 is 1.401. And J, 9.438 divided by 0.6 is 15.73. So hopefully you did well with those. If you didn't, I want you to circle it so we can go over it together. And I really like how you guys have been asking questions when I meet with you on Zoom. It really makes me happy that you're not just being complacent with getting it wrong, that you really want to figure it out. So great job, guys. So now let's move on to today's lesson. We are doing page 217 to 218, and we're doing the review of a circle. Now with a circle, there are some parts that they'd like us to label for the first part. And it says, label the parts of a circle. So line segment CAD. And I know it's line segment because there's a line across the top. What that means is this line segment right here. Line segment CAD. What do you think that line segment is? If you said diameter, you are right. That is a diameter. And we know it's a diameter because it goes straight through the center of the circle and touches both sides of the circle. Okay, let's look at AB, letter B. And we're looking at AB. And if you want to, do the highlight like I am. It will help you to, sometimes I feel with math, if we use color kind of helps our brain to learn it a little bit better. So we have AB right here. And what is that called? When it goes from the center to one point on the circle. If you said radius, excellent job. Now the next two we haven't talked too much about, but let's see if we can do them. EB, that is called arc. Well, I kind of just gave it away. But EB is called an arc. It is a small part of the circle. EB, if it's one little kind of part around the circle, it's called an arc. Now let's look at CFD. We have from C to F to D. That is also an arc, but it's a special kind of arc. Do you remember what it's called? It's called a semicircle. Semi meaning halfway around the circle. And then point A right there, what is it in the circle? It's the center of the circle. Excellent job. Okay, number 2, we're going to go ahead and skip for right now, but we will possibly come back to that one. I really want to get you guys working with your protractors and your compasses. So before we can work on drawing congruent circles, we have to get with our protractors and compasses. Now, here's this chart that you guys have worked on all week. And I know some of you are like, oh, this chart. But if you can do this chart with ease, or if not too much difficulty, then you've got these lessons down. The whole aim of this week is to get you to know if you have a radius, how to find a diameter, if you have a diameter, how to find a radius, and to find circumference and area. Now let's remember, when we have a radius, to find diameter, a diameter is actually 2 times whatever radius you're given, okay? To find a radius is actually a diameter you're given divided by 2. I'm going to write this down here. So a radius is diameter divided by 2, whichever diameter you're given. And a diameter is 2 times whatever radius you are given. Okay, how about if we're trying to find circumference? There's 2 formulas to find circumference. Circumference can either be 2 times pi times radius, or circumference can be 2 times pi times diameter. And then area is new to us, but area is pi times radius squared. So it's not pi times radius squared, it's radius squared times pi. Now, that brings me to a question. What is pi? Pi is 3.14, or when we're dealing with mixed numbers and fractions that are repeating decimals, we want to use this one, 3 1/7. But I don't see any here today. So when we do radius or we do pi today, we're going to use 3.14. So let's begin. Letter A, if I have a radius of 2.5 or 2.5, to find my diameter, says right here, it says 2, just double my radius. What is 2.5 doubled? Or 2.5 times 2? If you said 5, excellent job. It is 5 inches. Okay. I would like to do all the radii and diameter first, and then go back to circumference and area. So letter B, if I have a diameter of 6 yards, to find radius, I do diameter divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is, good, it is 3 yards. Letter C, 16 miles in diameter is how much in radius? Remember, half of diameter is a radius, which in this case is 8 miles. Okay, letter D, if I have 2 foot radius, I have to double my radius to find diameter, and I get 4 feet. And then letter E, 24 yards is a radius. So to double to find diameter, 24 times 2 is 48 yards. Excellent. Okay, so now let's move on. And I'm going to erase this because I'm going to be doing some of my calculations down here since there is room. And I'll probably be erasing as we go. So if you need to pause or rewind or do what you need to do, go ahead and do that. Also, if you need more space, please use a scratch paper to work these out. So letter A, I'm finding circumference. And remember I told you, I prefer to use this formula. If I know what the diameter is, I prefer to use the circumference equals pi times diameter. And the reason being is because you only have to multiply one time. With C equals 2 pi r, I have to do 2 times radius times pi, or 2 times pi times radius. And I would rather just do pi times diameter. Okay, so let's look at 3A, excuse me. We're gonna do circumference equals pi times diameter. This is A. Circumference equals, remember pi is 3.14 times my diameter in this case is 5 inches. 3.14 times 5 is, I don't need to rewrite that. 3.14 times 5, well, I'm going to do the multiplication over here on the side. 3.14 times 5, and this is where your scratch paper would come in really handy. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. And I go 2 decimal places in, and I get 15.7. Remember, I do not need this 0 at the end. It changes the name, but it does not change the value of the mixed decimal. So I get 15.7 inches. Now, is circumference square measurement? No, it is not. Area is a square measurement, but circumference is just inches because it's not a square measurement. Okay, let's look at B. Are we ready to move on? If you're not, take a break. Let's go to B. B, we have same formula, finding circumference. We'll go back and do area. I'd like to do all the circumferences first. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Circumference equals 3.14 times 6 yards in this case. And let's go ahead and solve it. 3.14 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry my 2. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 2 is 8. And 6 times 3 is 18. Excellent. So we get 18.84 yards in this case. I'm going to go ahead and transfer it up here. 18.84 yards. Awesome. I'm going to erase to save a little bit of room. This is where you could transfer to scratch paper if you are working them out underneath the chart. Okay, let's move on to letter C. I have 8 miles as my radius, 16 miles as my diameter, and I'm trying to find circumference. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the formula. C equals pi times diameter. C, circumference, equals 3.14 times, my diameter is 16 at this point, so I'm going to multiply by 16. Okay, let's multiply. 3.14 times 16. 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is 18. Put my place marker there. 4, 1, 3, because we're multiplying by 1. 4, 2, 0, 1, and 5. And so we get 50.24. 50.24 miles. Now, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Press pause, do circumference for D and E, and come back. Great. So go ahead and check D and E for circumference. On D, you should have gotten 12.56 feet, and E, 150.72 yards for those. So those are your circumference. Now let's move on to area. With area, we have, with area, we have to use area equals pi r squared. So we cannot use diameter in this case. We must use radius when we are working with area. So let's go to A. And I have a radius of 2.5. So this is A, and we have area equals pi r squared. Area equals 3.14 times my radius now, 2.5 squared. Now, is this 2.5 times 2 or 2.5 times 2.5? You're right, 2.5 times 2.5. So let's multiply that out. 2.5 times 2.5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Put my place marker there. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So I get 625, but I really don't. I have some decimals I got to put in. So I get 6.25. So area equals 3.14 times 6.25. Now, our directions did say to round to the nearest hundredth. So let's keep that in mind when we find our answer in a little bit. I now need to multiply 3.14 times 6.25 to find my area of that circle. I'm going to use, I'm going to rewrite it. 3.14 times 6.25. Okay, you do the multiplying, I'll do the multiplying, and you check with mine when you're done. Five, 7, 8, and 4 is 12, 16, 1, 9, 1. And I have 2 here, so I gotta have 4 here. And I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. So I get 1 or 19. Sorry, yes, I made a mistake here. Knew that wasn't right. This is a 1, 9, and a 6. So 19.63. Did you get 19.63? 19.63 squared inches. Okay. If you didn't get that one, check your multiplying. See what you did on that multiplying, okay? Now, I'm going to erase these because I don't have enough room here. These take a little bit longer than the area. Don't be afraid to work. I think what happens sometimes is that we kind of get nervous because we keep working and working and working, but in order to solve these problems, we have to keep working. We have to keep multiplying until we get the correct answer. So let's go to B. I have a circle with a 3-yard radius. I have area equals pi r squared to find area. Area equals 3.14 times 3 squared. This one's a little easier. What is 3.14, oh, excuse me, what is 3 squared? If you said 9, excellent. Area equals 3.14 times 9. Multiply it out. 3.14 times 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 3 is 12. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. So we get 28.26 square yards. Okay, let's keep going. You guys are amazing at this. I can just tell that you have been working and you guys are getting so much better at this. So don't give up. If it gets difficult and you see these charts and you're like, oh, I don't want to do the charts, don't give up. You've got this. Just keep going, okay? Let's do C. I have area equals pi r squared. Area equals 3.14 times 8 squared. What is 8 squared? It's not 16. 64. Area equals 3.14 times 64. Okay, you do the multiplying, I'll do the multiplying, and you check. Let's see who gets there first. Accurately, of course. Sometimes when I rush, I'm not very accurate. And you've been witness to that. Okay, 200.96 square miles. 200.96 square miles. Okay, pause for a moment. Do D and E area and check your answers. Great, so let's see what you got. On D, we have, now there's a weird phenomenon that happens when you have a 2-inch radius. Anytime you have a 2-inch radius, your area and your circumference are going to be the same answer because 2 squared is 4. And it's the only number that it works for where your radius and your area become the same number. So don't get thrown off if that's what happens. And E, if you do 24 times 24, you get 576 because that's r squared times pi, and you get 1,808.64 square yards. Excellent. Let's move on. Number 4, we have the diameter of Kokai, I believe I'm saying that right, or Kochi, I don't know how to say that, maybe Kokai, circular shaped bacteria cells is about 1/10,000th of a centimeter. What is the radius of it? Well, let's look. Our question is, what is the radius of these cells? And we know the diameter is 1/10,000th. Well, if we have a diameter, how do you find radius? If you said divide by 2, awesome job. So if I have 1/10,000th divided by 2, I can work this out. How am I going to work this out? If you say keep, change, flip, awesome job. Keep, change, flip. Remember, 2 is actually 2 over 1 because whole numbers. So we get 1 over 10,000 times 1 over 2. What is 10,000 times 2? 20,000. Good. So we get 1 over 20,000. That would be the radius of these circular shaped bacteria cells. Okay, now A, B, and C, don't do them. Sometimes, guys, when I highlight, and when I highlight in blue, especially for me, it's so we can go over it together as a class when we meet on Fridays, okay? Converting measures, I think I want to save those. So let's, well, I would rather save converting measures, and I would rather, so let me highlight that in blue. That's for me to go over with you guys. These are our magic numbers. If you want to challenge yourself and do them ahead of time, more power to you. Go ahead and do that, okay? But I would like you to go to the bottom of this page. It says find the areas. Area means we have to have square measurements. But before we do that, we want to know our formulas. What is the formula for the area of a triangle? Area equals 1/2 base times height. And my answer is going to be in square feet because I'm finding area. How about for the area of a rectangle? Area equals length times width. And my answer is also going to be in square feet here. And how about the area of a parallelogram? Area equals base times height. And in this case, it's going to be square meters as our answer. Now, number 9, I want to draw a picture first. So here's my triangle. I have a 204-foot base and a 100, I'm just going to draw an arrow to here, a 179-foot height. Let's go ahead and multiply it out. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Area equals 1/2 times 204, because that's my base, times 179, which is my height. Now, which is easier to take half of, 204 or 179? If you said 204, you are correct because it's an even number, and it's easier to take half of an even number. What is half of 204? 102. Good. 102 times 179. Let's multiply it out. I'm going to do it down here. 102 times 179. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 1 is 9. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 1 is 7. And this is times 1, so it's going to be 102, 8, 7, 0, 1, 9. Did you get 9,078? Area equals 9,078 square. What are we doing on this one? 9,078. Oh, no, I am wrong. Why is that wrong? Telling you guys, sometimes I'm wrong. Because look what I did. Oh my goodness. Some of you caught it. Some of you didn't. If you caught it, bravo. I forgot to put 2 place markers here. I was in a rush to get it done. See what happens when you rush sometimes? You make silly mistakes. Okay. Most of the time when we make mistakes, it's not because we don't know how to do it. It's because we're rushing. So let's put 201, and it's going to be such a better number now. 8, 5, 2, 1, 8, 1, and you get 18,258. So let's erase that because it's not 9,000. 18,258 square feet. Let's go to B. Now B has a rectangle. I'm going to draw just a little rectangle here. My length is 7 3/4 feet, and my width is 5 1/4 feet. Area equals length times width. Now I'm gonna change, well, yeah, I wanna change these to decimals. Sometimes I feel like multiplying with decimals is easier than multiplying with fractions. So area equals 7.75 because that's 7 3/4 times 5.25 because that's 5 1/4. And we're gonna do the multiplying. Okay, you multiply, why I multiply, and we'll see what we get. 2. Good job, keep going. 2 place markers this time. And I'm going 2, 2, so am I going 4? And did they tell us to round these ones? No, they did not. So you should have gotten area equals 40.6875 square feet. Now, if you chose to do it with fractions and mixed numbers, what you would have gotten is 40 and 11/16, which is 0.6875. Okay. Now let's do one more together, then I'll give you your assignment for today. I have a parallelogram. I'm getting so much better at making these things. Maybe it's because my machine can do straight lines for me here. But here's my parallelogram. My base is 7.8 meters and my height is 6.9 meters. Area for a parallelogram, it equals base times height. Area equals 7.8 times 6.9. And let's multiply. 7.8 times 6.9. Now, could you do 6.9 times 7.8? Yes, you can, because of it, when you're multiplying, you can switch the order of the factors and it does not affect the outcome. So 2, 7, 63 and 7 is 70. 60, or 8 times 6 is 48. Carry my 4. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 4 is 46. Now add. And we get 53. Area equals 53.82 square meters. Awesome job. Okay, guys, what I'd like you to do for your assignment today, and I'm going to have you enter this into Google Classroom as well. On Arithmetic 6, which is my math class, I'm going to put it'll probably say a quiz. It's not a quiz, but it will have these questions. I'm going to have you do 7, all of 7. It will have these questions, and you'll have 3 answers to choose from. Now, don't do the assignment in Google Classroom until you've worked out these 7 problems. Then go into Google Classroom and pick the one that is the correct answer. So if you don't get one of those answers that's on Google Classroom, then you know that your answer is probably not correct. Okay? So your homework tonight is number 7, or your assignment. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But let's look at it before I send you on your way. What does of mean? Of means multiplying. Good. Change your percent to a decimal and multiply. Letter B does not go in evenly, so you will have a remainder. C is self-explanatory. D, is it 24 times 2 or 24 times 24? Good. I think you guys really have got the hang of that it's 24 times 24. Letter E, you need to come up with a common denominator first. You have 11, 11, and 2. So think of what your common denominator could be before you start. Now, same thing with letter F. In order to subtract with fractions, mixed fractions, you need to have a common denominator. And you have 7 and 2, so find a common denominator for that one. And letter G, same thing with letter A. Of means multiply. Change your percent to a decimal. So if I have 183%, I'm going to change this to a decimal, so it becomes 1.83 times 900. So have a great time working these out, guys. And don't forget, when you are finished, go to Google Classroom. You'll see the assignment and check, put the correct multiple choice answer in there and have a great time. If you have any questions, please contact me so we can go over them. We'll see you tomorrow in our live math meeting tomorrow. Goodbye.